Johnny Carson had just wrapped up his famous opening monologue on The Tonight Show when he leaned back in his chair, flashed that legendary smile, and turned toward his guest for the evening, Clint Eastwood. The audience was relaxed, laughing, and expecting the usual lighthearted celebrity interview. Nobody in that studio, not the crew, not the audience, not even Johnny himself, had any idea that within minutes they would witness one of the most emotional and unforgettable moments ever captured on television. It was November 14th, 1985. Studio One at NBC in Burbank, California was filled with energy. The Tonight Show was at the peak of its popularity, and Johnny Carson was the undisputed king of late night. For more than 2 decades, he had interviewed presidents, comedians, movie legends, and world leaders. He believed he had seen every kind of guest reaction possible. That night proved him wrong. When Clint Eastwood walked out from behind the iconic curtain, the audience erupted into applause. Tall, calm, and carrying the quiet intensity that had made him one of Hollywood's toughest stars, he moved with slow confidence. Known for roles like Dirty Harry and The Man with No Name, Clint represented strength and silence, a man who rarely showed vulnerability. The interview began like any other. Clint was there to promote his latest film, Pale Rider. The two old friends joked about Hollywood stories, golf games they had played together, and the strange rumors that followed famous actors. Laughter filled the room, and everything felt easy and predictable. About 15 minutes into the conversation, Johnny leaned forward with a playful grin. He decided to tease Clint about being the strong, silent type. The audience chuckled as Johnny joked about Clint's tough guy image. Then Johnny pointed toward the grand piano sitting beside the band and made an offhand comment. "I've heard you actually play piano," Johnny said jokingly. "Is that true, or just another Hollywood rumor?" The crowd laughed. The idea of Clint Eastwood, the tough gunslinger, sitting at a piano seemed almost ridiculous. Johnny pushed the joke further, inviting Clint to play something for fun. But Clint didn't laugh. His expression changed slightly. He looked down at his hands, and for a few seconds, the studio fell into an unusual silence. Johnny noticed immediately. After decades of hosting, he could sense when something serious was happening beneath the surface. Clint quietly said, "Actually, I think I will." The audience grew still as Clint stood up and slowly walked toward the piano. Each step echoed through the silent studio. Even the band members sensed that something deeper was about to unfold. Johnny left his desk and moved closer, curiosity mixed with concern on his face. Clint sat at the piano bench, placed his hands over the keys, and paused. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. Then the first gentle notes began to play. The melody was soft, emotional, and filled with something far beyond entertainment. Clint wasn't performing like a celebrity showing off a hidden talent. He was playing like a man reliving a memory. The song was Misty, a classic jazz standard. As the music filled the studio, Johnny's expression changed. The audience stopped smiling and simply listened. Many sensed that this was deeply personal. What nobody knew at that moment was that the song carried Clint back 15 years, to a hospital room in 1970, where his father lay dying. Clint had grown up during the Great Depression. His family had moved constantly, chasing work and stability. His father worked long hours in different jobs just to keep the family afloat. Despite the hardships, his father had a deep love for music and used to play piano late at night when he thought nobody was listening. Young Clint would secretly sit on the stairs and listen to those late-night melodies. They became some of his most treasured childhood memories. Years later, when Clint began finding success in Hollywood, his father once made a simple request. He asked Clint to learn piano, not for fame, not for audiences, but to show that strength and gentleness could exist together. Clint promised casually, never realizing how important that promise would become. In February 1970, Clint received a devastating phone call. His father had suffered a massive heart attack. Clint rushed to the hospital and stayed by his side for days. One evening, his father reminded him of that promise. Clint realized he had never fulfilled it. Determined to keep his word before it was too late, Clint found a piano in the hospital and practiced nonstop. 2 days later, he played Misty for his father in a private hospital room. The performance wasn't perfect, but it was filled with love. His father smiled through tears, proud and grateful. Shortly after, his father passed away. Clint never spoke publicly about that moment. For 15 years, he kept the memory private until that unexpected Tonight Show appearance. Back in the studio in 1985, the final notes of Misty echoed through the room. Johnny Carson stood silently with tears streaming down his face. The audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation, many crying openly. Johnny walked toward Clint and gently asked who the song was for. Clint paused before answering, "My father. I played it for him the night before he died. I haven't played it since." The studio grew even more emotional. Two legendary men sat side by side. No longer celebrities, just human beings sharing a moment of loss and love. Johnny, deeply moved, made a spontaneous announcement. Inspired by Clint's story, he pledged a large donation to support music education for children who couldn't afford lessons. The gesture sparked a nationwide response. Donations poured in from viewers and celebrities alike, eventually leading to the creation of a music education fund in Clint's father's name. The moment changed how America saw Clint Eastwood forever. The tough Hollywood icon had revealed a side few expected, a son honoring a promise and remembering a father through music. Years later, Clint would say that night wasn't planned. He believed the moment happened because it was finally time to share the story. Behind every legend is a human being with memories, promises, and emotions hidden beneath the surface. That night on The Tonight Show proved that even the strongest individuals carry deep love and vulnerability. And every year on the anniversary of his father's passing, Clint still sits alone at a piano and plays Misty, not for an audience, not for fame, but simply to keep the memory alive. As Clint Eastwood's popularity kept rising in Hollywood, many traditional Western fans still saw Duke as the original king of the genre. Duke believed Western heroes should look strong, patriotic, and larger than life, while Clint Eastwood brought a darker, colder, and more realistic cowboy to the screen. Hollywood slowly started changing. New directors wanted a fresh style, and younger audiences connected more with Clint's silent, mysterious personality. This shift created an unspoken tension between old Hollywood and the new generation. Duke represented the classic American hero, while Clint Eastwood became the symbol of a new, unpredictable Western era. Despite their differences, both men respected each other's impact on cinema. Interviews and public comments sometimes hinted at disagreement, but deep down they understood that both had shaped Western movies in completely different ways. One built the foundation, the other reinvented it. As years passed, fans continued comparing them, debating who was the true legend of Western films. But the reality was simple. Without Duke, there might never have been a Clint Eastwood. And without Clint Eastwood, Western movies might never have evolved for a new generation. And that's what made their story one of Hollywood's most fascinating rivalries. Not just a clash of two actors, but a battle between two eras of cinema.